Hello, agentpreneurs, and welcome to episode 45 of the Daily List Report. As you can see on screen right now, I've got my co-host from last week back, Wessal Khader, COO of ListReports. Say hi, Wessal.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be back again. Did I just hear you say 45 episodes, Randy?
45 episodes. That's like 2 seasons of a
That's
sitcom.
incredible.
It's amazing. This has
I
been a lot
know.
of fun.
You've
Yeah, we've
been
learned
my
a lot.
favorite entertainment during this entire coronavirus crisis, honestly. And I've heard that from many other people. You've done a tremendous job, Randy, bringing in all these incredible guests. I just want to say that to all of our entrepreneurs who I'm sure have been watching you in recurring fashion. You're so
Thank you.
entertaining and so much fun. And I love all of your technical difficulties and all of your interesting intros. And really the quality conversation with all the guests that you brought on. It was really fun co-hosting with you last week.
Thank
So
you,
thank
Wessal.
you
It's
so much.
very sweet of you to say. So we've got a really fun show today, right? What we're going to do is we're going to take all of last week's content, Stand and Salute, Extreme Ownership, right? That great week of content that Wessal and I hosted last week, and we're going to condense it down right now into what is hopefully about a 20-minute episode. So we're going to give you all of the best bits, and if you see something that you like, go back to YouTube, watch the entire interview. It was amazing content. All right, Wessal, are you ready to do this?
So ready. We have so many awesome highlights to talk about.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start with our first clip. We opened the week with my brother-in-law, Lieutenant Colonel John Boyer, who's at Shaw Air Force Base, and he led us in the pledge, but he also gave us some inspirational words, and I'm going to give those to you right now.
Many of us, if not all of us, have gone through an extremely difficult time lately as our country and our world is navigating this COVID-19 pandemic. And as a military chaplain, I'd just like to offer a real brief word of hope to the viewers today. It's helped me tremendously over the years. One of my favorite heroes, Charles Swindoll, is a former president of Dallas Theological Seminary. He's a well-known Christian author and pastor, author of dozens of best-selling books. And he writes this great quote. He says, "The longer I live, the more I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me," and watch this, 90% how I react to it.
Yeah.
And so the focus for us is that when we face times of challenge or difficulty or trials, is that we have to focus our strength and our mentality and our effort on the one thing that we can control no matter what we face, and that's our attitude. And so this week, as you're talking about extreme ownership in leadership, I think one of the greatest ways to demonstrate extreme ownership is by taking ownership of our attitude. Focusing not on the 10% of the circumstances or the challenges that we face, but rather the 90% of how we react to them and what we do next. Because what we do next, how we move forward in hard times, says a lot about our character and our purpose. So those are just some words of encouragement I thought I'd offer today. Hopefully it encourages and blesses somebody's soul.
All right, Wessal. So, what a great way to kick off the week, right? John said, look, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. So what a great setup to a week of discussions about extreme ownership.
It's really tremendous how he opened with that message, which was a perfect setup for our entire week of messaging regarding extreme ownership. But what was also amazing was just how authentic that was. There was a flyover happening.
Yes.
He was on base. He was in uniform. We got to get a little bit of an experience of like the day-to-day life to kick off a week of incredible military guests. And I just loved the message from him. It was a great way to start the week.
It absolutely was. So we followed that up Monday with your dear friend David Deary, and so I'm going to play
Dear David Deary.
Dear David Deary. So I'm going to play a clip from David right now, and then we can talk about that for a bit.
We're all going through it, but some better than others. And as a leader, I believe that you have an obligation to be reaching out and helping those that are struggling. Go on social media. Somebody in your profile, somebody in your friend group is going to be expressing that they need some assistance. So if you're looking for somebody, start there. You can start by donating. You're having the big donation, the fund drive on Wednesday. You can help out that way. And even if you're not in a leadership position, maybe you're just a worker bee. You're just a somebody. You don't have to be somebody to be able to reach out.
Beautiful. So Wessal, talk about David's message of service and of helping other people. It's something that we can all do right now.
Well, just as a recap, like David Deary was the Region Command Master Chief for all the United States Navy located in the San Diego area and was in charge of thousands of sailors, and the responsibility that that guy had and all the different leadership tips and tricks he could have given to all of us for that week, he chose that particular message. And I thought that was really interesting. Thinking of others first and being of service is a disposition in life. And I think that's a really great way to think about anything you have to approach in your day, work, life, kids, family, whatever it is. Doing it with an attitude of service is selfish and actually serves you very well. And I love that message because I think a lot of people think you can't do a whole lot or you can't, you really can't make a difference. Actually, you can. And even by trying, you're actually serving yourself in that moment. And that is the best type of selfishness to have, right? And I just love that of all the messages he could have given us, he reminded us to think about what we can do at a very micro level with our attitude and just being of service. And I think everyone else we had this week exuded those traits in their behavior too. So there was a very strong theme there with all of our guest speakers, and I'm glad he touched on that to open our week.
I am too. That was great. So that was Monday, right? What a great day. What a great way to kick off the week. Tuesday, we bring on Mary Maloney, who is a top agent in the Northern San Diego area, right? And really embodies sort of embracing new technology in this new world that we're moving into. And in particular, she had a really great segment. So I'm going to play that now, and then we'll react to it.
So what COVID made us do out of necessity, the consumer is now going to want out of convenience.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
100%
That's
agree.
a great quote.
It goes back to bagged lettuce. Who's going to pay $3 for a bag of lettuce when you can buy a head of lettuce for 49 cents, 79 cents, right? We all buy the $3 bagged lettuce because it saves us time. It's convenient, right? Mm-hmm. Consumers are going to demand more out of real estate when it comes to convenience now. COVID made it a necessity, but they are going to make it a convenience for them in their lives.
Really strong message was Wessal, right? She said, look, what we had to do out of necessity, the consumer is now going to expect out of convenience. There's so many great conveniences that come of this time that we're in. So react a little bit to Mary's message and how it ties in, frankly, to our worldview as a company and what we're trying to do for agents and their businesses.
Well, I would say that, she has a very rational view on what's happening in the industry and a pulse on it. And I believe, first of all, she has that because she's very default aggressive, like Jocko would say. And she is assertive in her ability to stop worrying and put aside all of the other riffraff that we're dealing with because of the change of being at home and all that. She doesn't even see that in her business. If you look at her and we watch that clip, and everyone here should, she's just getting to work. She's like, how do I solve the problem? Wait, this is an opportunity. Let's go take advantage of it. And because of that, she has very clear vision from how I perceive her business and how she's assessing the market. She has clear vision. And what that vision is the reality of the situation. What has forced us to behave a certain way is now a massive opportunity. She's already grabbing left and right and running with. And I just love that message for all of our other real estate agents to adopt that same position. It's necessary. She's doing it. She's in live action. Watching her, you definitely follow that woman on Facebook and her YouTube channel. She's a lot of really interesting content for agents out there. She's a tremendous leader and is just taking action. And I think that's phenomenal.
And remember what she said to us, right? She said, a couple weeks ago now, she had 3 listing presentations, 30 minutes each, all virtual, closed all of the deals. And she's like, why would we go back to the old way? Like, why is that a better world where I have to get ready and get in my car and drive over there and sit down and say hi? Like, they got it done very efficiently, very quickly.
I mean, I just love the fact that she has that perspective in a very micro way in her local market. And we obviously have that perspective talking to over 250,000 agents nationally about this need. This is clearly the solution, right? We have to get better about going online. We have to execute on that. We have to adapt for our clients. And we've been doing that, right? We're standing up these solutions for our agents. She's already trying to do it at a local level. So I love the idea that we're going to be solving this problem at a macro level for everyone like Mary to be leveraging very quickly because they all see it. Everyone's seeing it and we're taking action on it, taking extreme ownership over that. And Mary is in a local way.
Absolutely. That's great. So definitely watch that episode. For all of you watching right now, go back and watch that full episode. Mary has a tremendous amount of wisdom and knowledge to share. I'm actually going to have her back.
And we want to bring her back. Yeah.
Yes, she's coming back soon. Jinx.
We have to bring her back. She's awesome.
Wessal, coming into Wednesday now, Wednesday was a really big day, right? So, let's talk a little bit. What did we do on Wednesday? What happened on Wednesday that was so near and dear to our hearts?
We got the opportunity to host a few leaders from one of 7 organizations that are nonprofits that support active duty military and veteran families. And it was a tremendous opportunity. There's a 24-hour stand and salute fundraising campaign we had a chance to bring some people on to talk about. And so we were a very small part of assisting those 7 organizations in raising money that people need right now during this specifically the coronavirus situation that's put these families that already need us a lot more. And we had a chance to highlight those organizations and support in the virtual fundraiser that happened. And it was a big success, very, very big success. Are you going to show something on screen?
Yep, I'm going to pull it up right now so we can show. $153,094 raised from 437 donors for 7 organizations, all within 24 hours. How incredible is that, Wessal?
It's amazing. It's amazing. That's a very large number of small individuals coming together to make a very big impact. And we just love it because those particular organizations are the best stewards of donor funds by rating nationally, if you check out Charity Navigator, that we could ever have supported. So we picked amazing organizations. We supported them and they really outperformed. Their goal was $90,000 and we surpassed it by getting to 153. That's incredible. And it also goes to show that the hearts of people are open right now, right? Which back to the messaging that our guests have been giving every week. When you are of service and you can go to support people in any way possible, in a small way, whether it's monetary or volunteering time or just being kind to another person, it matters a lot. And the reception right now for your clients as agents actually is that they are willing to hear you and take that help and support more than ever before. I think we talked about this early on, Randy. People are willing to pick up the phone differently than they were. They're willing to connect a little differently now. So the tone there, I think, proved that people want to help, people can help, and that people love to be involved with helping others. Really I think that's amazing. And I just very grateful that we had the opportunity to work with those organizations and what an impact was made on many, many lives this week.
And frankly, Wessal, it's infectious, right? Your passion and love for the military, which was forged in your early career at Veterans United, infected a lot of us, and now I have a heart for that I had respect for, but now I have a heart for that. And so that's the cool thing for me, is to see how infectious this can be. So pretty cool stuff.
It is, because Randy, on that point, it's all about exposure. AJ and I talk frequently about, I wish people understood this, because AJ has passions too. Like he loves animals and, has a really strong desire to change the way we treat and respect animals in this country, for example, right? That passion, when you want to share with others, we realize the best way to do that is just to provide perspective and exposure, which is what your show does, right? Just providing all these opinions and perspective, allow people to think differently and open their hearts and minds to different notions. And right now, being of service is something I want everyone to be aware of, that they can too partake in, right? This is exposure. And every guest we had last week provided massive perspective for all of us. So I think that was the goal there. We definitely hit.
I agree. So now we move on to Thursday. Wednesday was an amazing day. We move on to Thursday, and we had Ken Robbins on. Ken Robbins is a real badass, if I'm being honest, right? I mean, this guy is a 20-year Army officer. He went to West Point. He has a graduate degree from Harvard. He was appointed by President Obama to a special Army commission. Just amazing stuff. But he has obviously a massive heart for the military and in his service through his company. And in particular, what he was talking about is how all of you out there can better serve military customers. So I'm going to play a little clip from Ken, and then we can
to be truly of service to this particular very special clientele, right? Our patriots, the people we need to be very focused on serving. You have to honor them by learning first how to serve them, right? Like that is very important. I would like you to touch on that message to our agent audience, because everyone else has. Mary Maloney, very passionate about making sure if you are going to serve an active duty service member or a veteran, that you take special care in that process. Can you give us some tips on that?
We put out a lot of material on our site, especially on the Agent Intel site, helping educate agents just on that, right? And we've also partnered with NAR. We've helped rewrite the MRP certification, which many of them may have, to really talk about like what is it like, almost like the anatomy of a military client. And we do several things. One is understanding their timeline. They're on very different timelines than a lot of your traditional buyers, right? If I live in a town and I'm buying a house, I've got all the time in the world, right? Because until I find my perfect house and I'm going to stay where I'm at. That's not the case with military buyers. It's not uncommon. So when you get a call from a military client and they say, hey, I'm coming this weekend, I expect to buy my house this weekend. That's very daunting for some agents, but that's the reality. It's like, hey, this is the only opportunity I'm going to have to take a trip out here before I move here. I need to buy it now. So we talk a lot about those kind of realities to prepare agents to understand that this is not unusual, or they might even want to buy the house, kind of virtually. Like that's not an uncommon thing either, because they're just in their timelines are so truncated. So that's an important part of it. And obviously, there's another aspect of it, which is understanding the VA loan process, which is what most military families use to buy their homes. There's a lot of there's lots of myths and misconceptions out there about that.
So, Wessal, this is near and dear to your heart. So, talk about what 1 in 5 homes is purchased by a veteran, and for those who are on active duty, they move under circumstances that we are not familiar with, right? Buying homes virtually, like literally showing up in a new place on a weekend and saying, I have to buy a house this weekend. So react to that, because this is something that I know is near and dear to your heart, and you serve veterans for a very long time at Veterans United. And so there's some unique challenges and opportunities here.
There are, and I think any agent listening to this is aware, if they've ever encountered a veteran client, the VA loan process, if not done by professionals, can be very tasking. And I think what happens is it puts pressure on agents that they get scared about this type of transaction because it's really messy sometimes if it's not done professionally. And it kind of makes agents want to steer away from this. But in reality, we should never steer away a veteran client from accessing a very, very, very important benefit that they have earned. And so it's just a message of advocacy from Ken, right? It's a message of educating yourself so you can be the best real estate agent possible, which is offering the right options to the right client at the right time. That is your job as a real estate agent, to really be an advocate for your customer, for your client. If you simply don't know that they're a veteran, you should ask, right? And then you'll know how better to serve them. And then educating yourself about access to these types of programs is incredibly important. But generally speaking, he's just still talking about being of service. And, a message that happened to kind of go throughout the week, Randy, was this theme of authenticity, really being authentic to yourself and attracting the right type of clientele is really important. When people try to brand themselves as someone who's an expert working with the military, or think that they know all the answers, that's really not necessarily going to work for sales. If you think about a real estate agent, like being authentic works better. If you don't know and you simply have no idea how to manage a VA, you have plenty of free resources, like Ken was saying, and us as well, right? Like to actually find what you need to serve the client. Don't default assume that you know, and ask questions, listen to your clients. That's really what he's saying, is any agent can get better at that with any type of client, but specifically for the military, we are passionate about making sure that people who serve this country get to own a piece of it, right? And the access they have to do that is a benefit that they've earned called a VA loan. It's a different process. If you simply have a little bit of education, it's actually the best process for the customer that exists out of any mortgage loan, in my opinion. So we got to help them get access to it. And that starts with the real estate agent, because as we know, consumers talk to agents before they go to the lender a lot of the time. And agents have a disproportionate impact on improving the lives of these consumers. And that's Ken's message, I think. Just take the responsibility seriously.
Absolutely. And it's a great way to show respect, right? By getting yourself educated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was Thursday. So then we go into Friday, right? Sort of the culmination of the week. We titled it Stand and Salute after the fundraiser, Extreme Ownership after the book written by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And we had Jocko on, didn't we? So we had Jocko on Friday, which is pretty incredible. And what an experience, right?
Didn't we?
We did. We
That
did.
was amazing.
We did. So Jocko, I would say, speaks for himself. So I'm going to play a clip right now.
One of the things that I love about Andrew's story, and he kind of brushed over it. I mean, Andrew got out of the Navy and a great paycheck, and his family taken care of, all medical stuff covered, place to live, all those things. He got out of the Navy and got into the mortgage industry in 2007. The whole world, the whole mortgage industry is falling apart. The real estate world is falling apart, and that's what he entered into. And what he did, and this is what I say all the time. This is what leadership is for. These challenging times that we're facing right now, this is what we live for as leaders. The easy world, that doesn't make you better. The easy ride, it doesn't make you tougher, and it doesn't get you where you want to be. These times like this, these challenges that we're in right now, these are absolutely opportunities. As long as you go on offense, you step up, and you lead.
As long as you go on offense, you step up and you lead. What a powerful message.
You know, I think that leadership is not about other people, right? You lead yourself, you lead your family, you lead your business, you lead other people at times. It's not necessarily, his message is not for people managing other people. It's on every level of leadership that Jocko sunk in. And, you know, we had a challenge picking that clip, Randy, because he had so many salient points that I encourage everyone to go back and watch all of them. We all need these messages. But the idea that only in times of challenge do you really grow and really get the best of yourself, you know, and not in the easy times. I love that message because we see that in our business. We see that in our agents' business. We see that in this moment in time, the fact that we're taking an opportunity and turning it into something where we can thrive instead of just survive it is an attitude. It's a position. And he takes that in his life and he teaches that everywhere. And he calls that being default aggressive. And so yes. I love that theory. And I also love the fact that he explained for all of us in mortgage lending and real estate listening to the show, how that is a specific example, Andrew Paul, who went through a very crazy time in the business and leveraged these same principles that they learned on the SEALs team to become extremely successful. And then we got a chance to hear from Andrew Paul. And to be honest with you, like I was like, it's Jocko Day and Andrew's going to be here with us. But actually Andrew's message at the end just blew my mind. I cannot wait to share that with everyone once more.
It was incredibly powerful, right? So, you know, for those of you listening, read the book, read Extreme Ownership. It's a great book. We were lucky enough to get some signed copies from Jocko and Andrew Paul, and we did a fun little giveaway. And so we notified on Monday's show 5 of you across the country of our viewers here were able to win those signed copies of the books. But Wessal, you're absolutely right. Andrew's message, it hit really deep, and we posted that actually as a separate video in tribute of and in memory of Memorial Day. And so we're going to play a portion of that for you right now.
When I think about challenging situations, when I'm frustrated, when I'm sad, I think about Mikey, I think about Seth, and I remember them. And the thought that overwhelms me is that they died so that we could live. And how sad, how unfortunate and disgusted I would be to come to the end of my life and look back and realize that I did not live a full life that honors the legacy and the service that those men and many others made and the sacrifices that they made for us. So, changing technology, changing economic conditions, changing health conditions, you know what? None of those things are going to fix themselves. You're only going to get through them. You're only going to get through them by taking ownership and by you stepping up and fixing those problems, finding solutions, and taking action. And when you don't feel like it, think about these guys on Memorial Day. Think about all the men and women who have made this sacrifice so that we can have a life to live. So go out this weekend, sell homes, commit to your customers, give them the service that they need and deserve, and realize just how lucky and how fortunate we are to have a business, to have the freedoms and liberties that we have, and live your life. Live a big life that is worthy of the sacrifices that guys like Mike and Seth and so many others have made. For me, when I come to meet my maker at the end of my time, just one thing I want to know. I want to know that I lived a life that was worthy of their sacrifice.
I mean, it gets you every time, right? It's an incredibly powerful message. Wessal, why don't you react to it first?
I have watched this so many times over the last couple days here, right? Because that was the message that Andrew left with all of us leading into Memorial Day weekend, and then we had the time away to reflect on it. And my first reaction to that is just a total sense of humility, and then I get personally like self-reflective, like how could I live my life like that guy every day, right? Yeah. When you don't have that relevant experience to feel it the way that he does. And I just watched that many times for motivation actually over the weekend, and it was incredibly powerful. But that's serious. I'm grateful that a lot of us do not have the sense of loss and tragedy that is led to him, being in that position. And that is the point, right? We haven't had to go through those things because people like Andrew and Jocko do it for us. And we have to be in a sense of constant gratitude as a result of that, as people, humans, as Americans. And I feel like that reminder and what Memorial Day is supposed to be a reflection of is lost on a lot of people. And so I'm so glad that Andrew took the time to share that with us and give us some perspective going into Memorial Day weekend, where you would otherwise be interested in a barbecue or the beach or something, and not necessarily really thinking deeply about how free we actually are because of people like him. And it just really touched me personally. And I think a lot of our audience, it touched them too, as we know from the views and all the shares and all the information that came back from that. But
I think,
just personally self-reflective all week, Randy.
I know, I did too. And I feel it's a real obligation to get this word out there. I shared Friday's episode with my family, and I was sitting there with my kids watching it, and, my daughter Emma, obviously. And, afterwards, Emma was like, she's 10, right? She's like, what am I doing? I don't want to waste my life. Like, what am I doing? And it was just such a powerful moment. It really opened up her eyes. And she was very honest. She said, look, I used to think of Memorial Day as just a day off of school, right? It didn't, you hear these messages and it impacts you in a way that's just so foundational and so deep. And it really shifted, in particular, her thinking about how she wants to live her life, right? As Andrew said, when I meet my maker one day, right, it's just one thing I want to know, that I lived a life worthy of their sacrifice. It's incredible.
Couldn't have been a better finale to a week of messaging where we wanted to share this perspective and exposure to all of our friends and clients out there. I think that these people that we were able to speak with and just learn from this week were very influential on me. I think on our whole company, our whole team was engaged with us last week.
Absolutely.
And I feel it, I feel the message. I feel like everyone really enjoyed last weekend and was really grateful. And so we just need this constantly, right? Like we need these reminders all the time, not just during a week leading up to Memorial Day, not, on Monday morning because we're bored at work, but we all need this sort of water on the flower, if you will, right? Constantly. Yep. So I thank you, Randy, for bringing these messages to us and allowing me to come in and share some perspective and bringing our friends on the show. And you're helping make a massive impact with this show, and you've done a tremendous amount of work. And I will tell you, as co-host over the last week, oh my gosh, the amount of work that goes into you producing this for all of us is tremendous. I did not know. And I just got to show up, and it was still a lot of work, right? Like, thank you so much for making this happen for all of us, Randy. You really did an amazing job with this show. I can't wait to see where the Daily List Report goes. Our agents love it, and we're getting a lot of traction now. So I can't wait to see who's coming up next. Who are these next guests?
I know, me too. No pressure, right? It was so, and honestly, I'll return the gratitude to you, right? It was frankly, your influence and your inspiration that made last week happen at all, right? And the theme that we had, and ultimately bringing on Jocko and Andrew Paul, was just an amazing week. So thank you for all of your time last week in doing this and getting these words out. For those of you out there, who are inspired by any of these words, again, every episode that we just talked about is right there on our YouTube channel. As Wessal, as you said, I have watched that a Memorial Day message, "They died so we can live" video countless times, right? It is a great reminder. And the beauty of recorded content is you can go back and you can watch that whenever you want. So, Wessal, why don't we wrap up the show with that? Why don't you say goodbye temporarily? You will be back. To all of our agents out there.
Temporarily. I loved it. It was a great time. I love the messages. I love all the interaction with everyone on our agent side. Just remember, we have a tremendous opportunity in the industry right now to make lasting change for every transaction that happens. Every consumer in America that touches the home buying or selling process has an opportunity now to do things better, to be more efficient, to be more effective, to be ethical. And so right now, this change that's happening, this momentum that we're gaining as an industry, and the return to a stable state that's happening right now across the entire nation is an opportunity for everybody to take really seriously. And we are here to support every single real estate agent in doing it the right way, right? The best of ways we can possibly find. And I just love the fact that we're doing this together. Now we have a way to communicate with one another through shows like this and the content we produce. And I just encourage all of the agents that are watching all this to engage with us. Come talk to us, ask us for more, tell us what you need. We're here for you. And we can always bring more of this incredible content to everyone as they want to hear it. We're here for them.
Absolutely. Well, Wessal, in honor of last week and in honor of Memorial Day and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, as we learned on Wednesday, why don't we sign off with a salute to all those who have served and who are serving now and those who are no longer with us. You ready? All right.
Ready.
Let's go. And salute. Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Thank you,
for
everyone.
your attention and your time, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.